Hello and welcome to Capay Valley. I'm Ilene Combs and I'm here with Elizabeth Monroe, but some of you may know her as Betsy. And Elizabeth has actually been in the valley for some time. She's fifth generation. She's not only a resident historian, but she is one of our most beloved storytellers. So, Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for asking me. This is fun.
We're curious, what, with all the information that you've been gathering, what has really been one of the draws to the Capay Valley historically in past times? What brought people to the Capay Valley?
Well, the pioneers, I assume we're referring to, started coming as explorers and beaver trappers and otter trappers on the tributaries to the Sacramento River in the 1840s. But when the gold rush happened and the pioneers started looking for land to buy, when they did finally make some money in the gold fields, including my great-grandfather.
And that was like 42, right?
No, when they started coming in 49 and 50. So
Okay.
my great-grandfather arrived in the Capay Valley in the early 50s and started buying up what was then a land grant, Cañada de Capay, and started amassing land just north of Capay. Eventually, 6 of the 11 siblings made it out to the Capay Valley. And
So they were some of the earliest pioneers.
Yeah, he had a pretty typical story. Other people, someone would come out and establish and start buying land in this beautiful Capay Valley, and then others would follow.
So the gold rush was Sutter's Creek and around there, but they also, what brought them all the way out here?
Well, looking for gold somewhere else.
Okay.
So many people arrived in what's El Dorado today was Mud Springs, and my great-grandfather and his kid brother Bill had a gold operation there, and they and others from Missouri, and a lot of them knew each other, landed in this same area and started going up the tributaries and looking for gold other places. They were looking in every creek and every stream in Hungry Hollow and Capay Valley.
Wow.
The name Hungry Hollow, of that farmland north of the town of Capay, got its name from one of the pioneers who settled, and his descendants are still here, looking for gold up in a creek in Hungry Hollow.
So what, when these early settlers arrived, they were already native individuals here, correct? Or individual natives to the area?
Absolutely. The Hill Patwin were here for at least 8,000 years, or forever, depending on who you ask. And farming, sustainably farming farming the whole area. And the Oak Grove, we have a very famous, world famous Oak Grove in the Capay Valley, and that was pretty much decimated by the settlers, because when you cut all those little seedlings down and put in farmland, a lot of the oaks are gone. But we still have some pretty big oak groves, and that was important to the Hill Patwin. They're part of the Winton Nation, but they were here for at least 8,000 years, according to archaeologists.
And so how did did they all work together in unison, or?
The native and pioneers? Well, depends on who you ask. The Capay Valley, for the most part, very multicultural and cooperative. So it's never great to have your entire culture upended by anyone. So there's that. But for the most part, it was a pretty cooperative, multicultural experience. None of our schools were segregated. And you look at the pictures of the kids standing in front of those 1 and 2 room schoolhouses, and every ethnicity is standing there going to school together, including eventually the tribal kids.
Well, and I would imagine that would bring quite a diverse skill set to the area. So not only were the skill set from the natives that were here, but then also the settlers that came in. How do you think their skills added to the Capay Valley's culture?
Well, most of the early pioneer settlers were farmers who were looking for land, and the land grants, the Mexican land grant, the first one was in the area that's now Madison in 42, and the Capay Valley land grant in 46. So from 46 on, people were coming and buying up parcels of the land in Capay Valley, and it became pretty obvious that it was a great place to farm, because the hills rolled down to the creek, and the fertile floor was an inland sea at one point, and the creek didn't have dams, so it used to flood, and that would refertilize the entire valley. It was a really ideal place, and still is, even though we have 2 dams, for farming. So but the railroad eventually came in 1888. They put in every single depot from Esparto to Rumsey in 1888, boom.
And we heard that the railroad, we had talked with a farmer actually, and that the railroad was key in development in the area.
You know, that's what I was going to say. They wanted farming in the valley, and they encouraged orchards for whatever reason. And so then orchardmen came. So the Japanese Americans, a lot of them were here because they were orchardmen. We already had a Greek, Italian, you name it, they were here, and the olives went in, the vineyards went in. We had an Irish vineyardman, Paddy Clark, here in the 40s, the 1840s.
But that's particular interest since I'm
So there's a fun story there. He had a bodega, and he had the first wine. When I did the history of the vineyard in the Capay Valley, I'd never heard of him. But he had a bodega, and the people going from Berryessa to Capay and back knew about him. And they would stop and refresh themselves in his underground, bodega and have his homemade wine. And
the Capay Valley does seem very rich with diversity, which is just a really unique trait, I think, of the area.
I think so too. Especially when you look at the history of the schools in the community and how many different names are there and why they were there and that they're all compatible, to me, I think it was very neat. We had a large group of blacks in Gwenda who followed the Logan family, who followed Basil Campbell, and it's always someone comes here and does well, and then others follow.
Send word back.
Yeah, and so we had a large enclave in Gwenda up in the summit, but it was integrated school, black and white settlers, and they built their own school, and all the kids are standing there together in the pictures in the schoolhouse. It was that
wow.
So.
Wow. So how has, we had the cultures that were established by early settlers and natives were here, how have things changed since like the mid-1800s, early 1800s?
The biggest change, I would say, was in the 70s, the 1970s. A lot of the old-timers were starting to break up their parcels and sell them off. And a lot of young people were coming out of the colleges wanting a place in the country to go organic move to the country, and some of them are still here. And I was still living here at the time looking at this change happen. A lot of the locals were grousing about it because the old timers didn't know what organic was and why
were they the early hippies?
Yes, and my dad thought it was great. Farmer and cowboy dad that he was, he took me up to one of the goat farms early on and went, "Did you even know you could eat goat cheese?" I mean, he just thought this was great. And he would razz his friends who were grousing about it. He goes, "It's still agriculture."
Mm-hmm.
And he would love what's happening today. And for the native people, obviously, who had been pretty much decimated. By the time I was a kid here, there were almost no kids in our school descended from the native population. But someone with foresight put in bingo first, which people also groused about, but it was followed by the casino, and now you have today, they have probably amassed, I'm going to guess, 10,000 acres of original native land. Every time a parcel becomes available that's precious to them, they buy it and farm it sustainably.
And really still work in unison with the everyone else that here lives in the community and support the community.
Change is hard, historically, but I'm really impressed with what the people in the valley did to make this all work.